Welcome to the line change. I just wanted to do a quick video and basically just give you guys a little insight on, you know, me as a Canucks fan and as well as my Canucks fandom and, how long I've been a Canucks fan, some of my favorite players, just give you a little bit more information about me as a Canucks fan. So I've been a Canucks fan for as long as I can remember. I'm 33 years old. Always been a Canucks fan. Could make the argument that I've been a Canucks fan since I was in my mom's womb, as she herself was a big Canucks fan, as was my dad. So I guess it's genetic that I am a Canucks fan. So I remember growing up playing hockey when I was younger. Playing, I believe, I forget the terms of, I want to say Little League, but I know that's baseball. But the equivalent of what Little League was, that's when I was playing hockey. I do remember Adam being a part of Adam for West Van Thunder back in the day, playing at the West Van Rec Center, and I absolutely loved it. I've always loved hockey. One of my favorite sports, if not my favorite sport, next to baseball. That's really where my whole fandom for the Canucks started. I remember back in those years growing up, watching players like Trevor Linden, Todd Bertuzzi, Marcus Naslund, Matthias Oland. I was a real big. I didn't get to play much goalie, but I've always been fascinated with goalies and wanting to be a goalie. I believe I got to play goalie a handful of times, but it wasn't like a permanent position that I played. It was like a rotation where kind of anyone who wanted to play goalie had a chance to play goalie, and I always jumped at the chance and made it known that I wanted to be goalie. I wanted to be in goal. A lot of my favorite players at that time were goaltenders. I remember the likes of not necessarily Canucks goalies, but your Dominic Hasek's, your Cujos, Curtis Joseph, Patrick Waugh, John Sebastian Shiger is probably a name you guys probably haven't heard in a really long time, or some of you who started watching hockey within the last 10 years wouldn't know that name. Ed Belfour is another one. But as far as Canucks goalies are concerned, I could probably rattle off a bunch that I would say younger Canucks fans probably wouldn't even know their names. You got your Dan Cloutier, Felix the Cat Potvin, Bob Essensa, Garth Snow. Who else? There's at least a few there that I can remember. I just had another one that just slipped my mind. Crud. Another one. Ryan Miller was another one. Braden Holtby, although I know he was more recent. Obviously, Jacob Markstrom. And of course, I can't believe I'm only thinking of him just now, considering he's still one of my favorite players of all time and Canucks of all time, Roberto Luongo. So, I was really into the goalies, goaltenders. And then I was predominantly as well really into really into the West Coast Express era. So this was what 95, 96 to the early, I would say about mid to late 2000s. Um, your Trevor Lindens, Todd Bertuzzi, Marcus Naslund, Matthias Oland, Pavel Bure, and then leading on into your Sami Salo, uh, Ed Jovanovski, and then fast forward towards the Sedin era is what I like to call it. The after the West Coast Express era ended, it was the Sedin era. Daniel and Henrik, Alex Burrows, Kevin Bieksa, uh, Yannick Hansen, Ryan Kessler. I'm probably forgetting a few more, but they're slipping my mind at the moment. So yeah, and then I was obviously really, really into the Canucks during the 2010-2011 Stanley Cup run we had. I still remember, what was it, Game 7 against Chicago. I remember that very vividly and to the almost exact detail. Listening to the game on the radio and then hearing Burrows score, I went nuts. They had finally slayed the dragon that, the Blackhawks had eliminated them once or twice the season or two before, back to back, and then they had finally slayed the dragon and they made it to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then, of course, moving on to Game 5 against San Jose, I want to say. And, of course, that miraculous goal by Kevin Bieksa, bouncing it off the stanchion, nobody knowing where the puck was except for Kevin Bieksa and Luongo down at the other end of the ice. Again, just like with the Alex Burrows goal, I remember exactly where I was when that goal happened. I was downtown. I forget the actual street, but it was, by the Vancouver Library, like around the corner. I believe, I don't know, I believe the McDonald's that I was standing in watching the game moved. I recall it being closer to the library, like on the same side as the library. And I was with a friend of mine, and there was a bunch of us crammed in there, just glued to the TV. And of course, this was when they were having the screens outside. And then, we had initially started there and then moved over towards the McDonald's. And then when that goal went in and, the goal horn sounded, we erupted. And actually, me and my buddy ran out of the McDonald's, cheering, yelling, high-fiving random strangers who were all gathered to watch the game on the big screen. And I truly thought we had a really, really good chance of finally winning the Stanley Cup. And of course, the Boston series happened, and the first three games happened, and we won the first two games. Believe we dropped the second game. Actually, let me double check that. I don't want to sound like a complete idiot. This was, well over 10 years ago. So let's see here. 2011 Stanley Cup Finals. So yeah. So yeah, the Canucks won the first two games. Game 1 was 1-0. Game 2 was 3-2. Then they would go on to lose Game 3 8-1. Lose Game 4. And then they won Game 5. Lost Game 6 and 7. So they had a chance to end it in Game 6, and obviously, they didn't. Obviously, that was really disappointing. And then, of course, everyone knows the riots happened, and I do remember that Game 7 again, just like a couple of those other games, quite vividly. I was again downtown, right in front of the CBC building, which is right where Post is now, like literally exactly on the sidewalk in front of Post, the new Post building. And I, of course, remember standing there watching it up on the big screen. And then, when I felt as though the game was a little out of hand, I was like, there's no point, staying here. May as well head on back home to the North Shore. So I ended up walking to the C bus, and then got on the C bus, went across the water, and then as soon as I got out of the C bus at Lonsdale Quay, I went up the escalator there, and then I turned around, and I could see smoke coming from downtown. So I was like, oh great, what's going on over there? So I ended up getting home, ended up watching, the news that were reporting about, what was going on downtown. And literally, I remember seeing a part of the newscast of one of the cars that was flipped over and set on fire. And I instantly recognized it because it was literally exactly where I was standing, during the game. So I was like, well, I'm glad I got out when I did, or else that would have been, pretty bad. So yeah, there's a little history story there for, the riots. I definitely luck on my side for that one. I wouldn't be able to tell you probably what would have happened if I had stuck around. I mean, possibly I would have stuck around had, they not lost by 4-0, and if they had like maybe made a game of it, and for all we know, if they had won the game, I'm still under the impression that, had the Canucks won, there probably still would have been a riot of some kind, because I know there were people down there that had the intention of starting a riot regardless of the result of the hockey game. They weren't hockey fans. They wanted to, cause havoc and whatnot. So there's that little story on that. Now moving into more of the current regime, I guess you could say, of the Canucks. I'll admit my fandom, I would say, definitely dwindled a little bit after those years, and we ended up what many people call the dark years, with the Jim Benning coming in and, in my opinion, completely obliterating the team, and especially our the team for the future, trading off all these draft picks and, making sure we had no depth and completely destroying that. And then, of course, there was, the whole stuff with Trevor Linden and him being executive behind the scenes and the president of hockey ops, and then leaving that position due to differences with Aquilini and all that. And then, of course, the arrival, or actually what I should say is the retirement of the Sedins. That ushered in a new era for the Canucks. And then, we got Bo Horvat, we got Quinn Hughes, Brock Besser, and then EP40. And then, of course, that would transition into us getting JT Miller. And this new, well, I don't want to say new, but current regime of the Canucks. Obviously, there was a lot of promise with those players, especially Quinn and Petey, concerning where they were drafted. Petey being a 5th overall pick in the first round. And then I believe Quinn was also a first-round pick. I don't remember exactly what position. I do believe he was in, I want to say, the top 10 in his draft year. And then, of course, last year, which was an incredible season, bringing playoff hockey back to Vancouver was amazing. And just seeing how lively the city was again after so many years of us not making the playoffs. And, it kind of brought me back to 2011 again. And you'll probably hear this from a lot of other people too. That's the vibes that we got was, 2011 playoff run. Obviously, we went through Nashville in the first round. We're able to, I don't want to say dominate them, but we held our own against them, we were able to, get past them. And then, of course, everyone knows about the series against Edmonton and taking them to Game 7. Obviously, that was quite the intense series between the two teams. I'll admit I was a total hater of the Oilers during that series. Complete Draisaitl and McDavid hater. I couldn't stand either one of them. Still kind of can't really stand McDavid, but I'm not going to get into that. That's just the Canucks fan in me. And obviously, it was disappointing, the end result, but I still thought it was a great run. And then was obviously looking forward to them continuing off from where they left off this season. Obviously, that hasn't happened, with the Miller trade. But we still have a chance to make the playoffs. Granted, not first in the division, but potentially as either a wild card team or a divisional team. I still feel as though we can still potentially get that third spot in the division, as we're only, I believe, a point or two as of this video out from third place that's currently held by the Kings. So yeah, I wanted to give you guys a little bit about me and my fandom and how far back I go with being a Canucks fan. I will say, on top of being a Canucks fan, I am a fan of the Hurricanes as well. They're my number 2 favorite team, but obviously, I bleed blue and green all the way. But if there's a chance the Canucks don't happen to make it during the season, I still got a team to cheer for. All right, well that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and also follow the Line Change on all your social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, or X. Sorry. No, what? Screw it. I'll just keep calling it Twitter. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course here on YouTube. All right, see you guys in the next video. I will be doing a post-game recap for the Canucks and San Jose Sharks game that will be on Thursday, which is technically today. And I'm very much looking forward to doing that. So I'll see you guys then.